Yeah, welcome back. This is going to be fun. Welcome to On the Money, the session entitled Reversing the Pyramid. How can fintech drive wealth and inclusion? We're going to delve into the transformative potential of fintech in reducing barriers to financial accessibility with increased smartphone penetration in many markets. How can wallets, open finance, embedded APIs, enhance financial equality and progress and strengthen a growing economy? So we've got engineer Dennis Mwighusa, President Tanzania Fintech Association. He's joining us. Vinay Surana, Regional CEO, Asia Pacific. He's here as well. To my left, Asia Pacific Allianz Partners, and Karan, Mohla, General Partner, B Capital. To my right, we've got to get to Dennis. He's on a plane. He's in transition. We're not sure this is going to work, but we're going to try. This is technology. Dennis, great to see you. Dennis, how's the Tanzania Fintech Association specifically contributing to financial inclusion?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. I think I'm audible. Am I audible enough?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, thank you. Yes, with the Fintech Association of Tanzania, we actually do conduct some researches. And through these researches that we've been conducting, mostly in so many cases, we also look on the gender perspective. So what I can say through our Fintech Association, we have contributed to closing gender gaps in financial inclusion. And in other words, digital financial inclusion gender gaps are lower on average than the traditional financial inclusion gender gaps. But through the same Fintech Association, it has also helped to promote, communicate, and develop cooperation and dialogue between fintech companies within the country, but also connecting between the fintechs and the regulators. I mean, speaking on behalf, speaking as one voice for the fintech sector, and highlight the significant development in the fintech field and provide pragmatic solutions towards the problems that they are facing in their daily activities. But through the association, we have managed to advocate and represent the interest of its members at the policy level. We have a team of 2 members who are in the high level of the government committee for fintech matters that are related to the framework, national financial inclusion framework, but also the national financial policy and the national ICT policy as well. And we have also managed to lead the fintech companies in delivering comprehensive, innovative, and understandable financial services products to all Tanzanians by first identifying the problems that are currently being faced by the users in terms of the financial services products, getting to understand what are the problems and what needs to be done in order to come up with a clear products so that they can manage to serve the purpose. We have promoted and secured digital finance and delivered better financial services for all consumers through sessions that we normally have, like the Fintech Breakfast, the Fintech Festival, and for the past 2 weeks we had the Tanzanian Fintech Festival. But through the same Fintech Association, we have also managed to encourage proportionate regulation that will support financial innovation and facilitating seamless market access and kickstart global growth for Tanzanian fintech companies. So we have a lot of initiatives that we are currently conducting, but what I would say is that we have a very good cooperation with the government. So we are in a good shape to go. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Dennis. We've got a lot to unpack there. On the India, Middle East and Africa themed element, which is what the IGF is all about, Karan, how are those 3 regions collaborating to reduce barriers to financial accessibility?
So there's a lot to unpack there too.
Yes.
I think you're talking about 3 broad regions, each of which has multiple sub-regions within the GCC, within Africa itself, within India. Maybe I take the example of India and the Middle East to some extent. So if you look at what's happened with digital banking, digital payments, actually which really started more in Kenya and M-Pesa, that kind of translated to what happened in India with with mobile wallets, with the UPI, which is your digital payment interface, and how that India stack really is powering more of the development on and innovation in fintech in the Middle East. So I think there's a lot of learnings over there. That's one. I think the second is just getting the direct benefits to the beneficiaries from the government, as opposed to using subsidies, etc. I think that's a learning that India's had over the last 5 odd years, which a lot of other countries are also now seeking to emulate. So that's probably a second. And then the third is just around creating the overall ecosystem. So you sort of move from wallets and payments and lending to just having embedded financial infrastructure in place, so that the backbone of all these countries and all the economies, which is really your the SMEs, get access to all sorts of financial products, which eventually is the catalyst that seeks to drive a lot of the growth. So I think a lot of it is still at the government and at the institutional level. It's going to start translating into the business and eventually on the consumer side. But these things are complex and nuanced. They take a lot of time. But we're already seeing that from India into some countries in the Middle East. So it's a very good first start to kick this off.
Yeah, Vinay, would you concur with all that?
Yeah, look, absolutely. What Karan said, and let me pick up 2 or 3 points.
Yes.
First, you need to build standardized digital platform, or I call it digital rails, to allow for this innovation. Let's be honest with ourselves. The big financial institution did not work on financial inclusion. It was the tech startups who came in and disrupted the industry, which forced the hands of these big financial institutions to talk about inclusion, to go down the path of digital wallets, digital payments, microcredit. If you ask any of the top 10 financial institutions in the world, the governments, the policymakers have been talking about for financial inclusion for years and decades.
Yeah.
But we have seen all the innovation come through in the last decade or so. That is because tech startup decided to come in and disrupt. And once that disruption started, there was no choice for these big financial institutions but to get into this space. So first and foremost, we need to really give the credit where it belongs, which is to say that it is tech-led inclusion. Right? This is why I like the theme, which is reverse pyramid, right?
Yeah.
And how fintech allows for financial inclusion. Then to Karan's point with respect to, in order to allow for an even playing field, you need to think about what is the role of a government in terms of creating the core digital infrastructure to allow for this innovation versus what is the role of private players in this space, right? So very simple example in India, to allow for digital payment and, the financial inclusion driven by technology, you need 3 things. Number 1, you need unified ID. So the government took on this whole initiative of Aadhaar. Second, you need mobile penetration. You can see that is really being promoted heavily in India, and for that matter, all of emerging markets. And third, a third element on that is to make sure that you get bank accounts, right? So when the Indian government, it was almost a decade back, they went on this, they call it the JAM, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile, which is what it is called. It is called the India JAM. The India JAM is all about creating those base infrastructure that is required to allow for tech innovation for financial inclusion. So 100% agree, right? And if you look at what has happened in last 5-6 years, good example is there are about 30 digital wallets in India, maybe somewhere around that, right? You look at Paytm as a company, it did not exist a decade back, right? Today, it does about 100 million transactions a month.
Incredible, isn't it?
It has 10 million merchants on the platform. Last year, it actually did $2 billion of microcredit, with average lending to individuals of $2,000 and to SMEs of $3,000. So you can see the power of these platforms in terms of inclusion, and this is real. So it is a great story, and again, China's, and I know we are not talking about China, but I do spend a lot of time there as well in my professional capacity. We can talk about China
if you wish, yeah.
But it is very interesting. They took a very different route versus India. India said core infrastructure is to be developed by government.
Yeah.
And let the tech come and do the innovation. China went down the other path, which is saying the entire innovation cycle needs to be led by private sector. So you think about Tencent and Alibaba, they led the whole digital inclusion there. And then now the government has stepped in, right? So it's kind of a reverse approach in China.
Yeah. Dennis, you're still there. I want to get another question to you. What role is and can cryptocurrency, we brought it up in the last panel, play in Tanzania to enhance financial inclusion to improve wealth amongst the nation? Oh, okay.
It's a tough question.
All right. He's frozen. It was too, that's what I do to people. I make them freeze. I have to ask Karan then. Cryptocurrency. There are nations in Africa where it's big, it's being used, and it's going to grow and grow. How do you see it?
I think it goes back to a very fundamental question.
Yeah.
Is crypto, is one of the base cases financial inclusion or not?
Yes.
I'd probably argue it's not today.
Okay.
In another shape and form, possibly, but I think for that, a lot of regulation,
Yeah.
a ton of standardization, and a lot of transparency, which is ironic given that it's the whole idea of crypto and blockchain is to promote transparency. It's not quite there yet, if we're being
But you
honest.
think we will get there?
We could. I think a lot of it depends on, do we have other instances like we saw with Sam Bankman-Fried, Binance,
from Binance, etc.
So I think this is not to generalize, but I think it's the first evolution of the growth of the industry, and it's bound to be like this. But yeah, I think it's probably not the right time to have crypto as any form of crypto as your reserve, like a few countries actually did. I think that's a little bit of a recipe for disaster today.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully see
what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about, talking about crypto and ethics, it all goes to, well, or lack of ethics in the case of maybe SBF and others. What about ethical considerations? What ethical considerations should regulators take to ensure that fintech is deployed responsibly and inclusively?
Look, I think first and foremost, to get access in a fintech setup, right? Let's talk about microcredit. You need to give up a lot of your personal data. So first and foremost, when you talk about ethics, it starts with data privacy, right? And a great example, and sorry to again go to China a little bit, is in India, in China, it was 2011 when they started really working on microcredit, right? And they came up with this concept of Sesame Score. I don't know how much is that known in the Western world. And it was all about, if you do not have a formal credit score, based on certain behavioral parameters, we assign you a score, right, which can get you microfinance. Now that's great. It's all wonderful, right? You say you're doing social good. But when is it too far? Because now you know too much about an individual. While it's great to give them access to microfinancing, but then do you restrict them access to certain things because they have said something on a social platform that they should not have been saying, right?
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is data privacy, right? Who gets the data, who holds the data, and what do you do with the data? So that's the first ethical consideration that we need to be careful about. And second is, at the end of the day, the whole model is run based on an AI algorithm, right? And if there are inherent biases in the algorithm, right, then who takes the accountability for those biases? So I think that is a very, very fundamental question. I don't know if we need to have more regulation. I don't know the answer to it. But as most of the entire industry runs on AI algorithms, the question clearly is, how do you train this algorithm? How do you work on eradicating those inherent biases that might be there in this algorithm?
Sorry, if I may add,
Please do.
I completely agree. One thing which we're seeing in India right now, which is, it's a moral dilemma, not so much ethical, but it's very related. Because of there's so much new to credit, the user base of new to credit is so vast and the velocity of it is so high. I think the temptation for businesses to offer microcredit, payments, etc., to effectively what are subprime lending portfolios is excessively high. So the government actually had to step in just very recently and say, look, things need to be in certain frameworks, and you need to have certain checks and balances around NPAs, etc., around who you're lending to, how you're lending to, etc., and just the customer needs to be knowing what they're actually buying into. Those are growing pains and really moral dilemmas and business decisions that come. But I think the government does have to step in from time to time. I think other developing countries will probably also see similar kind of issues come up as the penetration of fintechs actually continues.
I think we've lost Dennis. He's flown off somewhere. But we did get him for a little bit. About a minute, so 30 seconds each. Transformative trends. What's the big transformative trend in this space that's going to ensure the enhancement of financial equality and progress and strengthening of local economies?
For me, the transformative trends are already here. I think use of technology to drive inclusion, right, as we have seen in last decade, is only going to accelerate, right, with the now, even using of generative AI into this whole thing, which is now kind of with ChatGPT is really becoming mainstream. So I think with the high uses of generative AI into the entire value chain, we will see acceleration of the pace of transformation in terms of how tech is delivering or tech is driving financial inclusion.
Yeah, Karan?
It's an area actually where Vinay's core businesses, which is around insurtech and insurance, both from the regulatory side of it, which is extremely progressive, especially in India, to just where startups are actually wanting to build businesses in a very complex area. That I think what happened with lending, with what happened with payments, what happened on embedded finance can happen, probably will happen in insurance, because that's really the next leg of evolution. I think that's something that we're very excited about for the next 10 years.
Vinay, Karan, and Dennis, enjoy the flight. Thank you all. World Uncuts next. Investing in the India story. Do not go away. We'll be back in a second.